Hello children. Today we will discuss about reaction between metals and non-metals. Actually, we will be discussing about the compounds formed by metals and non-metals. What are these compounds called? How they form the compounds? Okay. Before talking about all those things, let me remind you one thing. I think you remember what are metals? Sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, copper. Do you remember about the electronic configuration of metals? Those we have done in class 9th. Is not it? So before discussing about the bonding between metals and non-metals, let me first remind you what are electronic configuration of metals and what are the valences of metals. Let's just have a recapitulation. Children, do you remember what are noble elements? What are noble gases? Noble gases are helium, neon, krypton, xenon, argon, all these things. Why they are called noble gases? As you know, they are noble gases because they hardly react with any other element. Why they do not react? There's a reason why they do not react. Let's see. In noble gases, suppose we take noble gases helium. Children, let us talk about noble gases, metals and non-metals. What are noble elements? Suppose I take helium, neon, argon. Okay. What are the atomic numbers? Helium atomic number is 2, neon atomic number is 10 and argon atomic number is 18. You know, electrons move about in different orbits. Okay. In an atom. What are the orbits we had discussed in class 9? Those are L, K and M. L, K, L and M. Sorry. K, L and M. These are the orbits in which electrons revolve around the nucleus. Now, how these atomic numbers means number of electrons? You remember that atomic number is the number of electrons in an atom. How they are distributed? In the different shells. Okay. Here in helium in K shell we have 2 electrons. Let's go for neon. Neon has 10 electrons. Atomic number 10 is 10 electrons. Okay. 10 electrons. How they are distributed? In K shell they have 2 because capacity of K shell is only 2 electrons. Then 8 in L shell. Okay. Which is, and capacity of L is also 8 and M is also 8. Okay. Argon has 18 electrons. 18 electrons, how they are distributed? K shell 2, L shell 8 and again M shell 8. Children, just see here. What is special about this inert gases? They have completely filled outermost orbit. Okay. For helium, outermost orbit is the K shell and it is filled by 2 electrons. It's complete. They don't need any other electron. Now, neon, outermost orbit is L and that is also filled with 8 electrons. Similarly, argon. Okay. It has got 18 electrons and outermost shell is M and that is also filled 8. As I have discussed, these noble elements, they do not react with any other elements because they have completely filled outermost orbit and they are very much stable and they do not want to react with, they are inert and they don't react with any other elements. Let's take the example of metals. Suppose we have in case of metals, sodium, we have magnesium, we have aluminium, we have calcium. What is the atomic number of sodium? atomic number of sodium is 11. Okay. Magnesium 12. Aluminium 13. Calcium is 20. How these are distributed in the K, L and M shell? See here. Here first 2, 8, M shell, it has 1. Okay. 12 means how do we distribute? 2, 8, 2. 13, 2, 8, 3. Calcium 2, 8, 8. Now it's 10, 18 and then next K, L, M, N shell. Okay. Here this is how they in metals. From here we have metals. In metals, how the electronic configuration is there. In case of sodium, you see how many electrons are there in the outermost shell? 1. In case of magnesium, you see how many electrons are there in the outermost shell? 2. In case of aluminium, 3. And in case of calcium, it is 2. Let us take the case of sodium. In case of sodium, it has got 1 electron in its outermost shell. Is this since the outermost shell is incomplete. Incomplete means it needs to become stable. It needs 7 more electrons to complete its outermost shell. Okay. It has to gain 7 more electrons. Or one more method is there. It can also get rid of this 1 electron and become stable. If it gets rid of this 1 electron, then it will have 2 and 8. 8 in the outermost shell, it will be stable. Similarly, in case of magnesium, magnesium has 2 electrons in the outermost shell. Is it complete? No, it's not complete. So, to have a completely filled outermost shell, that is octet rule. For stable electronic configuration, that rule is known as octet rule, and you have studied that. And to gain stable electronic configuration, they should have completely filled outermost orbit. Here in case of magnesium, either it has to get rid of these 2 electrons to become 2 and 8, or it must accept 6 electrons. Similarly for aluminium, it should accept 5 electrons or it should get rid of 3 electrons. Similarly calcium, it should get rid of 2 or accept more 6. Okay. But children, let me tell you one thing. It is difficult to gain more electrons because large amount of energy is needed for that. Okay. So, they have the tendency to lose electrons. Less number of electrons in the outermost orbit means they have the tendency to lose than to gain, because gaining so many electrons needs lots of energy. Okay. Let's go for non-metals. What are the non-metals we have known? Suppose we take the case of nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, okay, phosphorus, sulfur and chlorine. What are the atomic number of what is the atomic number of hydrogen? It is 7. Oxygen is 8. Fluorine is 9. Phosphorus is 15. Sulfur is 16 and chlorine is 17. Let's write the electronic configuration. Okay, for 7 means in the K shell we have 2, in the L shell we have 5. For oxygen, in the K shell we have 2, in the L shell we have 6. For fluorine, 2, 7. For 15, 15 means 2, 8, 5. 16, 2, 8, 6. 2, 8, 7. Okay, in case of non-metals we have, this is some non-metals examples we have taken and what is their electronic configuration. Here, you see children, in the outermost orbit, nitrogen has 5 electrons. Okay, to become stable, it needs how many more electrons? 3 electrons. Either it will gain 3 electrons or it will lose 5 electrons to become stable. You get my point? Similarly, for oxygen, outermost electron, there are 6 electrons. So, to become stable, it needs 2 more electrons to complete its outermost shell as per octet rule, or it has to lose 6 electrons. Similarly, fluorine is here 1. It needs 1 electron. Phosphorus, it needs 3. In case of sulfur, we have 6 electrons in the outermost shell. It needs 2 more electrons to have stable electronic configuration, or it has to lose 6 electrons. Similarly, for chlorine, it has 7 electrons in its outermost shell. Either it will gain one electron to become stable, or it has to lose 7 electrons. Now let me tell you one thing. Losing 7 electrons is very, very difficult. It needs lots of energy. Here in this case, gaining 1 is much better for them. So, these non-metals have the tendency to gain rather than lose. Okay. But in case of metals, they have the tendency to lose rather than gaining. When metals are ready to lose something and non-metals, they are ready to gain something, what they do? Now they come into pairs. Okay. Here, let's see, take the case of sodium. Sodium has 2, 8, 1. Okay. Sodium, when loses 1 electron, becomes sodium plus 1 electron minus. Sodium plus is an ion. Here it has got 11 electrons, means 11 electrons here means it has got 11 protons also. Okay. 11 negative charges and 11 positive charges. 11 protons are present in the nucleus. 11 electrons move around in the orbits. When it loses 1 electron, here number of electrons become 10. But number of protons still 11. Okay. So what happens? When it loses 1 electron, it becomes Na+. Na plus is an positive ion and we call it as cation. Positive ions are called cations. Sodium forms cations. Okay. Similarly, magnesium. In case of magnesium, we have electronic configuration 282. Now, magnesium has to lose how many electrons to become? Magnesium becomes magnesium plus 2E minus. Okay, here number of electrons become 10 and number of protons are 12. Here magnesium is ready to give how many electrons? 2 electrons. Here sodium is ready to give how many electrons? 1 electron. Sodium, magnesium, potassium are said to be very reactive. As you have seen the reactivity series, these are more reactive due to their tendency to lose electrons. Okay, they can lose 1 electron, 2 electrons quite easily. Suppose I take the case of chlorine. Okay, chlorine has, what is the electronic configuration for chlorine? Chlorine is 287. Okay, now chlorine gains 1 electron. 7 is there. If it becomes 8, then it will become stable. How will it become 8? It has to gain 1 electron. Okay, chlorine gains 1 electron to become Cl minus ion. They become ion. When they are losing 1 electron or when they are gaining 1 electron, they become ion. And these negative ions are known as anions. Okay. Similarly, the case of oxygen. Oxygen has got how many electrons in its outermost orbit? 8 means 2, 6. Oxygen has to gain how many electrons? 2 electrons to become O minus minus or O2 minus. Okay, and this is also an anion. Now let's see how these metals and non-metals combine. Why and how? Metals and non-metals combine. How do they combine? Suppose I take the metal sodium. Okay. Sodium has got how many electrons in its outermost orbit? It has got 1 electron in its outermost orbit. Okay. Sodium 2, 8, 1. Let me represent sodium by dot structure. What is the dot structure? Dot structure means just representing the electrons in the outermost shell with this element. Sodium has got how many electrons? 1 electron in its outermost shell. So, what should be the dot structure? Sodium I represent by 1 dot, suppose. This is the dot structure for sodium because it has got 1 electron in its outermost orbit. Similarly, suppose I take chlorine. Chlorine is 2, 8, 7. How many electrons are there in its outermost shell? 7 electrons. What will be the dot structure for chlorine? It has 7 electrons in its outermost orbit. How do I represent it? 1, 2. I can do it by cross or dots. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 7. This is what is dot structure. Similarly, oxygen. Oxygen, how many electrons? 2 and 6. Okay. So, dot structure for oxygen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the dot structure of oxygen. Now, let's see how they combine sodium and chlorine. Suppose they come in close to each other. Now, how they form the compound? Sodium has got 1 electron in its outermost shell. Now, what happens? It combines with chlorine. Chlorine has got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 electrons in its outermost orbit. Now here, sodium has the tendency to lose 1 electron because 1 electron it can give and it becomes stable in its own home 2 and 8 with 2 and 8. Okay. Now, this 1 electron is transferred to chlorine. Now, chlorine has how many electrons? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sodium loses 1 electron to become sodium ion. Okay. And chlorine gains 1 electron to becomes chloride ion. We don't say chlorine ion, we say chloride ion. Okay. So, here by losing and gaining, they form a compound. And what is that compound? The compound is sodium plus Cl minus, and that is NaCl, sodium chloride. It's a very well known compound, children. Okay. Sodium plus Cl minus. These are oppositely charged. This is an cation. This is an anion. Cation and anion, they combine together to form NaCl. This sodium and chloride ion, they form sodium chloride, which is a compound, and the bond which is formed is known as ionic bond. What do we call it? Ionic bonds. Okay. Sodium and chloride are bonded, and this bond is known as ionic bond. There exists a force of attraction between the positive and negative ions, and that force of attraction is known as electrostatic force of attraction. And children, let me tell you, electrostatic force of attraction is a very strong force of attraction between the cations and the anions. So, cations, anions form ionic bond. In other words, This ionic bond is also termed as electrovalent bond. What do we call it? Electrovalent bond. There are many compounds in which metals and non-metals combine together. They form anions and cations. They are bonded by electrovalent bond, or we can say ionic bond. And they are attracted by what sort of force of attraction exists? That is, electrostatic force of attraction exists between the cations and anions. Okay, let me take one more example. Magnesium. Children, in case of magnesium, there are how many electrons in its outermost shell? There are 2 electrons in its outermost shell. Okay. Now, 2 electrons in outermost shell means it is ready to donate or lose 2 electrons. Okay. Suppose let us take the case of chlorine. Chlorine, we know how many electrons required? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more chlorine atom is also required, because first chlorine atom will accept 1 electron, the next chlorine atom will accept 1 more electron. 1 electron of magnesium is transferred to first chlorine atom, then another is transferred to the second chlorine atom. Here children, magnesium by losing 2 electrons, it forms plus or magnesium 2+. Okay. Magnesium forms a cation by losing 2 electrons. Now here chlorine gains 1 electron and becomes chloride minus. Here also 2 chlorine atoms becomes 2C. So what is the compound form, children? Mg2+ and Cl2. This is MgCl2. This is the ionic compound is formed as MgCl2. Okay. Suppose we take the case of MgO, magnesium oxide. How magnesium oxide is formed? Magnesium has similarly 2 electrons in the outermost orbit, and oxygen has how many? 4, 5, 6 electrons in its outermost orbit. Here magnesium is losing 2 electrons and oxygen is gaining 2 electrons. Mg becomes Mg2+ and O becomes O2-. And what is the compound formed? MgO. Similarly, children, you can try different other elements also. And when you are asked to make the dot structure, you are supposed to make this type of structures. When you are asked to make the bond structure, you are making these type of things. Okay, these are ionic bonds, electrovalent bonds, and force of attraction between these elements is known as the electrostatic force of attraction. These compounds are very strong. The bond between these compounds are very strong. Bond between the anions and cations are very strong. They form salts. Now, let us discuss what are the properties of the ionic compounds. Okay, children. Ionic compounds, what are the properties means they have high properties of ionic compounds. They have high melting points and high boiling points. Why? Because suppose I take the case of sodium chloride. The bond between them, the electrovalent bond, or so to say ionic bond, is very strong because they are joined by cations and anions. These are cations and anions. They form very strong bond. As we know, opposite attract, and these are plus and these are minus. Okay. And they have high melting and boiling points because it needs lots of energy to overcome the force of attraction. So they have high melting points and high boiling points. One more thing, these compounds, they are soluble in polar solvents only. Polar solvents. Polar solvents means like water. Water, why it is polar? Water forms H plus and OH minus ions. Okay. Water forms H plus and OH minus ions. These are polar solvents, and these ionic compounds are soluble in polar solvents only. They are insoluble in non-polar solvents like oil. Non-polar solvents like oil, like petrol, kerosene, etc. They are not soluble in this. One more important property of ionic compounds is, in solid form, they do not carry electricity. But in molten state, they are good conductors of electricity. Okay. Why not in solid form? Because we know for flow of electricity or flow of current needs some charges. Okay. These ionic compounds, they are solid. Okay. They are very hard solids. They are solids. This is their physical nature. Physical nature. Okay. Being solids, what happens? They do not form ions. Okay. So, they do not carry electricity in their solid form. But in the molten form, what happens? They get converted into positive and negative ions, which are responsible for carrying electricity. As we have seen in earlier classes also, in electrolysis of sodium chloride, what happens? We get anions and cations. Okay. So, these anions and cations are responsible for carrying electricity. They are ready to carry charges in their molten state, because in molten state, what happens? It is possible that they are able to, over the heat which is provided, is able to overcome the force of attraction between the particles, that between the elements in that compound, like sodium chloride. The ionic bond is there in case of sodium chloride. The ionic bond between sodium and chloride is broken. It is broken by the heat which is provided. Okay, and they form Na plus and Cl minus ions in the molten state, and hence these charged particles are responsible. So children, we have discussed certain properties of ionic compounds. We have discussed formation of ionic compounds, electrostatic force of attraction, and properties of ionic compounds. Okay. So, this completes your reaction between metals and non-metals. So, you can try at home about the electron dot structure for sodium, oxygen and magnesium. I have discussed, and you can try this at home also. You can also show how these compounds are formed. MgO I have showed you, and how Na2O is formed. Na2O means Na has got one electron, one Na, one electron, another Na, another electron. Oxygen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One electron from this is transferred here, and one electron is transferred here. So, it becomes 2Na plus O2 minus, and this forms Na2O. Why this Na2O? How these compounds are formed? Do you remember we have done in class 9 about the cross multiplication, about the valency? Okay, sodium has got valency 1. What is the valency of sodium? 1. What is the valency of oxygen? 2. So when they form the compounds, how do they form? This is what they form, is not it? I hope you remember these things. This is how you form the compounds, and electron draw structure you can show this way. Okay? This is for today, children. Go through the notes, go through this video and try to answer the questions given in the text. We shall discuss later. Thank you.